Welcome everyone to the Imminent Dominion raid, the second Retaliator and Bonesaw, because we have to do all 4 targets to get the set bonus raid. Today I want to go over the level 102 target so that you understand everything that's in here in terms of the enemies, what's shooting at you, and how you can take basically no damage instant base repair while doing this target. I am going to show my build at the end. It is very important, the particular build that I'm using for the exact method of driving shown. I have an evade tank in ship slot number 5, and it has lower range and a faster combat speed than everyone else. What this does is it allows it to pull ahead just very slightly when I'm moving, so it takes all the damage from the just regular accuracy-based radioactive turrets, and I should never get a shockwave. I will mention it's going to be a good idea to turn effects on that show shockwaves. This would be the projectile effects and the explosions and some other stuff there, particle effects and projectile explosions. I would turn those on in this target so you can see if you have a shockwave. It's a little sneaky to have the shockwave not show up if it doesn't, but let's get started. In terms of the turrets to worry about, the really bad one is the one right here, Drac Coax turret. Unfortunately, Kixeye has removed the range rings from these since last month in one of the 2 targets, which I find very disappointing, to be honest with you. This is the biggest, highest threat one. What you want to do against this one is stay moving at all times and try and stay at max range. Based on the exact build and damage and limited weapons that I have on here, I can kill this thing before it fires a second time, so I cheat sometimes and go a little bit closer than I otherwise should. We also do have the launcher turrets right here. As long as your tank ship is the closest to these ones, they can't shockwave and do basically no damage to you. We have the disruptor cannons here, which are ballistic damage. These things are not too bad. They have a very large minimum range, and you can stay moving and you'll be pretty good. We also do have the glacial launchers, which are actually throwers and output a fire thing. Don't go in here and you'll be fine. It's really nothing too bad. We also do have a turret, otherwise known as a ship, moving around in a circle here. These things are not too bad. The exact timing does depend on how long you take to hit the target, but really these things should never fire because you outrange them. And that is everything in the 102 target. The 103 has harder things in there, large ballista style radioactive huge things, but those are not in the 102. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how I hit each particular turret cluster, starting with the one on the right side here. What I want to do is know where the glacial is firing, and also know where the second ballista is right here. Then I'm going to click on the ballistic, coax turret right here, and move right towards him. What I'm going to do is just stay moving as far as I can, and then press the down button. He did have 1 or 2 shots that hit me as I stopped, but it was 1 or 2 shots. And as you can see, ship number 5, which is the tank ship, is slightly out ahead of everyone else, which is what I want. Next turret cluster, similar kind of thing. Nobody else is around, so we're just going to find the coax turret and move towards him. We do also have 2 of these radioactive guys there, but again, my ship number 5, the tank, is going to head toward them slightly faster. It's going to be just barely closer than everyone else. And after this first turret platform, you can see ship number 1, 2, 3, 4 have taken little damage, and ship number 5 has taken a little bit more from radioactive. Next up, I'm going to grab the moving turret because it happens to be close to me, and then jump down to the right for a little bit. It is a little bit tricky on the right because, as you'll see, there are a few platforms close together, and depending on where you move to on this first turret cluster, the ballista could hit you, which is not what we want. We want to hit the coax turret and stay moving as far as we can and then stop before I get in range of the ballista. Unfortunately, that did take a little bit more damage from the Drac coax than I wanted, which is unfortunate. Next turret cluster, nothing to do with the coax. We're just going to move at the very bottom here, and I'm going to actually press the down button physically just before I would otherwise stop to ensure that number 5 is still slightly ahead of everyone else. Next up, we do have a bunch of turrets right here. What I want to do is get the glacial turret when I'm passing, 1 Wendigo right here, and then I'm going to switch focus to the Drac coax because he is pretty gnarly. And then I'm going to try and retreat a little bit and see if I can get, there's the coax. I'm going to try and pull back a little bit starting now and take ship 5 and stop him earlier so he's closer to all 3 of these radioactive turrets rather than one of my ships being a little bit closer. A little complicated to explain, but as long as the tank is always the closest, you get the general idea. Next turret cluster, Drac Coax, surprise, is the biggest threat here. Going to head towards him and try and stay out of range of everyone else. We did actually almost go in range of the radioactive thrower, which was because I wasn't paying attention and was explaining the driving. 2 launchers right here, going to take ship 5 and pull him out ahead. Nothing too much to worry about here. Those launchers really do almost nothing. I probably should have stacked up a little bit more there so that the splash damage from the ballistic disruptor cannon did not hit the rear ships, but oh well, you learn something every time you mess up in one of these targets. Center cluster has a turret hidden behind the platform, but as you can't see, it's just a regular radioactive thrower, or launcher I should say, so he doesn't really do anything to you. You don't have to worry about that one. Stay out of range of the ballista and the two Dracoaxes right next to each other. That's going to be gnarly for this next portion, and just get the moving turret if it happens to be around. I'm going to duck to the right pretty quickly. I think I'm going to go straight for these two, actually. And then I'm going to try and kite them at max range if I can. A few shots from the Wendigos really shouldn't do anything. And I'll switch to shooting at the second one before the first one dies. That should actually ensure that I do kill both of them before either one of them fires off a second shot. If you have all common weapons or something like that, you might not be able to kill them quite that quickly, which is just something to be wary about. Two turrets right next to each other, Disruptor and the Dracoax. Again, just stay moving, stay at max range, and you'll get into the min range of the Ballista, and then the Disruptor, and then you can stop. And that's the target. Your exact driving path may vary a little tiny bit depending on your particular fleet setup, the position of these moving turrets, and some other things like that. Repair time should be, if you drove well, very little ballistic. I did take 24% Simon resisted and taken for ballistic, which means I probably got hit by a few more Dracoaxes than I should have, and radioactive damage in this target was only from the radioactive launchers that are being evaded almost every single time, 8% some have resisted and taken. In terms of the repair time, it is 14 minutes of damage. It's probably 3 minutes on ship number 5, and then 1 or 2 on everything else, if that adds up to 13. At least that's what it was the first time I hit this target, because this is the second time I've hit the target. As you can tell, 500,000 event points, and I got 250,000 from this one. Here is the build on ship number 5. It's also linked in my builds doc below, although that doesn't have heavy armors on it at this point. I do have one of each armor of each type on everything. This one is very important because it has a very high evade, and the evade bonus is 94%. The combat speed is 89. My regular ships, the evade doesn't matter, they're not really getting hit, but the combat speed instead of being 89 is 87. And of course, this is the damage setup. I happen to have this ship up to X1. This one's U3, a U2 ship, and then my flag is U3 actually. I do have 2 build tokens, or upgrade tokens. I might be able to get this up to X1 by the end of the raid. Unfortunately, we do have cap for everything, so just be wary of that. If you have any questions on this target, go ahead and let me know. I will likely be autoing this every single time other than this video, but I do want to show you the technique out there and go over the particular turrets in the target at the beginning. Like I said, if you have questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to help you. With that said, and until next time, this is going to be Derpy, signing out, helping you be a better pirate.